The conversations around immigration, who does and doesn't deserve to work here, to access services, have become especially strident. There's people who really inflame the arguments, and what I always come back to is, who are my neighbours? You know, new Canadians are our neighbours, and I'm really sad to see that we're at a point in Canadian politics where it's not about that. It's about you know, why don't I have the services? Why don't I have access to the services that I should have? And I find that it's precisely when the majority of folks who are already underserved are feeling all of that pain from the things that they're not able to access, that sometimes governments will take advantage of those pain points, and instead of addressing the areas that they haven't done any work on, like investing in public health care, investing in public education and other public services, investing in housing, and actually building affordable housing. In an affordability crisis, they really create the conditions where folks will start to try to look for who to lay blame with for the situation that they're in. And there's another phrase that I've heard, whenever you point fingers, there's three pointing back at you. And in this case, pointing of the finger at immigrant populations for shortages in services. And the three services I think of, healthcare, education, all public services, really point back at the UCP for lack of investment. And so I will say this on the citizenship markers. I've heard justifications from the other side that this is a way to bolster the security of elections, and now this has been thoroughly debunked. What we know is that the cases of voter fraud since 2013 have been a total of 7. Wow. So if we're talking about putting the citizenship marker on ID as a reason to bolster elections, we know that that's not actually a real problem. Now, where I'm really concerned, and I know I did hear the Minister of Red Tape Reduction talk about how there's no discrimination in Alberta. And that the idea that we would suggest that discrimination is possible by putting citizenship markers on IDs is somehow us engaging in identity politics. And what we know, Mr. Speaker, is that several organizations have let us know that hate crimes are on the rise. We know that people are getting verbally harassed, sometimes physically harmed, and that a lot of that centers around this anti-immigrant sentiment. Now, we know that other than voting, there's no programs that are exclusively for Canadian citizens. And so one of my concerns with putting on a citizenship marker is that, you know, there's a lot of nuance here. There's a lot of people who are here who might not necessarily be citizens, who still have the right to access a lot of our public services. And so my concern with this is that this is a precursor. You know, I always say that some of those UCP AGMs are the way that the UCP tells on themselves. Putting this citizenship marker on ID, I'm concerned that this is going to be a precursor to illegally and unconstitutionally restricting programs from people who are legal residents. Now, I think that sends the message that it's okay to discriminate. And although I love the idea that there are people in this province that think that discrimination does not exist, I would say talk to a few more of your constituents, and you will hear a different story. It's actually quite common and increasingly on the rise, and it's very concerning. When we're talking about putting citizenship markers on our IDs, that opens the door to discrimination. So perhaps it's not a discriminatory move, but it is certainly opening the door to discrimination, and that's what we are thoroughly concerned with. I would also say that the cost down the line of denying services, you know, like as much as people might enjoy the idea of these punitive measures, won't actually materially improve conditions for Albertans that are here and focus on affordability, healthcare, and education.
Are there any others?